Good morning. My name is Dylan Null, Head of Vendor Engagement here at CRS. I will be your MC on here this fine day. Thank you all for joining, and I hope you enjoy the ride. Introducing our panel, we will start off with our very own Tristan Govender. Hailing from Johannesburg, South Africa, this fine young gentleman is a technical account specialist here at CRS. He has a wealth of knowledge in cybersecurity with a focus on mobile device management, encryption, and the likes of endpoint detection and response. In the next corner, we have Mr. Don Hackert, who will be presiding over some high-level and commercial aspects of ReaQta. Mr. Hackert is the EMEA Sales Director for ReaQta and joins us all the way from the Netherlands. Moving on to the man of the hour, Mr. Robert Lange. Mr. Lange is a pre-sales engineer for ReaQta for EMEA and is an information systems security architecture professional assist who specializes in designing security solutions and providing management with risk-based guidance. Robert will be running through the demonstration for us today. Our agenda includes an overview of ReaQta and the meaty stuff, ransomware demo and some threat hunting from Team CRS and Team ReaQta. We will then finish off with a Q&A, just some house rules. Should you have any questions, leave them in the comment section or in the Q&A section. We will answer all of these towards the end of the session. A recording of the session will also be available in the next week or two and posted to our YouTube channel. Please go subscribe and view some of our other exciting videos also. We'll then also mail this to all attendees in due course and probably the rest of the planet as well. As always, keep up to date with the happenings by following us on social media, or you can just reach out to your account manager. So ReaQta has received an immense amount of positive feedback from global research and advisory companies, as well as write-ups from reputable market research and consulting firms around the globe. A few of these to note would be Gartner, Frost & Sullivan, Forrester, and VirusTotal. Our favorite, though, still being ReaQta, where ReaQta has outperformed industry peers. So in this age where malicious attacks are happening by the minute, you need to ask yourself a few questions. For example, is your antivirus still sufficient? The short answer is no, it's not sufficient anymore. But then you need to ask yourself, is it still required? The answer would be absolutely yes, it is required. But there's still huge gaps being left. Gaps that your AV just doesn't have the ability to fill. So the next logical step would be to implement an EDR solution like ReaQta to fill these gaps. However, keep in mind that ReaQta can run in conjunction with any of these legacy AVs. We can also replace them with our anti-malware or our next-gen antivirus. And in doing so, cover a broader range with tools like whitelisting tools, monitoring tools, anti-malware, behavioral protection, threat hunting and remediation, advanced threat analysis and detections, and quite a few others to provide a comprehensive protection against cyber attacks. So discovery and alerts to cyber risk are two major issues in the current climate of cybercrime in organizations. And the issue lies in the fact that the longer there's a vulnerability on your PC or your phone or your network, the more at risk your data is. We all know this, right? So with the number of cyber attacks and the types of cyber attacks on the rise and the growing numbers of companies that experience breaches, cyber risk is the equivalent of business risk. So if you fail with your cyber posture, you have a good chance of failing. So if you'd like to experience the winning formula of having your own EDR solution on your endpoints, reach out to your account manager or reach out to me. We'll then send you up with a trial license and you can then actually test the solution out for yourself. Pretty much guaranteed to blow your mind. So if you'd like that trial license, please send me a separate private message in the chat section or reach out to me after this webinar. And on that winning note, let me hand over to Tristan Govender, who will further highlight the importance of a solution like ReaQta.
Perfect. Thanks, Lynn. Really appreciate that. So just in terms of the core functionality of ReaQta and where it stands out is definitely on its detection and response measures. Okay, so ReaQta's detection and response capabilities is definitely what sets it apart. It adopts a behavioral detection approach, which monitors the actions generated by every response in execution, every process in execution, sorry. So in the presence of anomalies, it'll trigger alerts. And once the alert is triggered, the agent even switches to a deep monitoring mode. And this will collect data for the analyst to understand the threat in a high level of detail. So it's definitely a a powerful solution in terms of gaining all of that threat analysis. Okay, it gives you all of the details that you need to understand all of your all of the details around an alert. Okay, so the deep monitoring collects more events such as complete file and registry operations to enrich the alert. So in other words, ReaQta Hive starts collecting more information once an anomalous behavior has been detected. So this is events like file and registry operations, and it's collected because of an incident. So this monitoring approach allows ReaQta Hive to preserve storage, bandwidth, and log only the information that matters during the threat hunting. So all of this allows to reconstruct the attack storyline through an impact assessment, as well as behavioral stress tests for understanding and remediation. So from there, the analyst may deem the alert as one that would be able to create a whitelist, or they would be able to create a remediation plan. Okay, so the remediation plan is a fast, automatically put together by ReaQta to kill processes, remove files, and remove any persistences, as well as isolate the endpoints in a single process. Okay, so the agent will also continue to monitor any related processes and the entities to ensure that there's no further alerts to the endpoint, and that brings us to the threat hunting. So when we look at the threat hunting, it goes by many definitions, but one being proactively searching for threats and that have been gone undetected or have been deemed as benign. Okay, these can be applications operating out of bounds, finding vulnerabilities, or even looking for more details just over a hunch or hypothesis of a possible security risk. So even if you want more details over an alert, you are able to do that threat hunting, and that's the power when it comes to ReaQta. You're able to deep dive as far down as you need into the details. It's possible in both in real time and for historical data. So Robert Lange will get further into the details of the threat hunting process, but I just want to show you how powerful the detection capabilities are of ReaQta in the market. So when we look at ReaQta, it has a world-class automated detection system, as I mentioned. So it's shown through the latest results of the MITRE round 3 results. And as you can see, the solutions in yellow and red had to make changes to the policies or the data sources whilst there was an ongoing attack. So in real life situations, this wouldn't be possible. You would need to have the solution to be able to detect and respond without your human reflexes at play. We all understand that computers are a lot faster than humans, right? So you would definitely need that capability to respond to alerts autonomously, okay, or even detect them autonomously. So with that being said, ReaQta competed and ReaQta was able to detect all threats completely autonomously without any human interaction. Okay, so noting that, I'll hand over to Don Hockett from ReaQta, who will give you more of a deep dive into ReaQta before we get to the threat hunting. Thanks, sir. Over to you, Don.
Yes, thank you, Justin. Well, there's a lot been said already, so not to drain you more with all kinds of generic information. ReaQta is indeed a platform that is developed by professionals to make a solution like this to deal with very advanced threats in a relatively easy to understand way. So it's something that in the past was dealt with high level cybersecurity analysts and specialists, that we've now found a technology around. Once you get trained and known what's going on, this is relatively easy to understand. So that's one thing I need to know. I've also been told by Dylan that this is a lot of you attending is sales people orientated, and I dare you to stay on all the time, because it is worthwhile, and it is also generated and focused on dealing with the likes of yourselves, because this is giving you a tool that is very easy to use, very intuitive. It's out there already for some time. We've actually got one of the founders also on this call, just to make sure that we've got all the grounds covered. It's Serge Woon. This is founded by people that have done nothing other than surpass existing cybersecurity measures for 15 years and did that on a daily basis. And out of that, there was a mission and said, okay, we have to do this better. And we are committed to do this better in several ways. The technology, as Robert will show you, will show you that it is indeed a hell of a lot easier to understand, but also we pride ourselves in being a European alternative based in Amsterdam, and that we also pride ourselves in a very high level and responsive support, and a consequent market approach being 100% channel focused, and that we don't deviate from the plan. We're not opportunistic. We're looking for solid partnerships, as with customers, as with partners, and we stick to that plan. Outside of that, we really pride ourselves to giving quick and adequate support. Now you're going to experience some high-level threat hunting, which is possible, but also immediate reaction on what's going on and how we deal with that. So I really want to give the floor to Robert, as we are pressing for time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everybody. As introduced by Dylan, my name is Robert Langer. I'm a sales engineer for ReaQta. I've been around security for a while now, and I'm very happy to be part of the ReaQta team. So I just shared my screen. I believe you can all see my screen for now. And I would like to demonstrate the solution using a very common and simple use case. A very simple situation where somebody just received an email to download a document. Very simple, very common. It's usually based on phishing attacks. So you receive an email, you're expecting a document, you download the document, and as all users do, they open directly the document and start working on the document. The thing is that what they don't realize is that the document is actually weaponized with malicious embedded code, and they don't see that. They continue working. But thanks to the ReaQta Hive agent that is running on this system, he's monitoring all the processes and everything that's happening on the system. We see that as soon as the document opens, we collect all the information related to the behavior, and within a couple of seconds, as you can see, we alert the analyst about the situation. When looking at the alert, we see that we already have, within a few seconds, detailed information about the behavior. And when looking more into details into the alert, we see that very detailed information is provided, with more interesting parts being the particular behavioral tree. This is a visual representation of the behavior witnessed by the ReaQta Hive. And if I zoom in here a little bit, we can see clearly what was the reason why we believe that this is malicious behavior, because when analyzing each process more closely, we see all the details about the process, including certificate validation, size, but also the exact command lines that were run by that particular process. At this point, as you can imagine, this is very normal. So, but what we also see is that he opened a lot of connections to the outside, which could indicate communications to command and control servers, but also a lot of other different techniques that were identified during the analysis. What we also see is that the reason why we believe that this is a malicious process, because it also opened a different process, which is not assigned in this case, but is also performing other activities. So as you can see, within the time of opening a document, we already analyzed the entire behavior of the word processing document, and we already come to the conclusion that this is something suspicious that should be looked into it. Okay. There are different ways that you can react on it. From here, this page, you can directly take actions, for example, by whitelisting the process or blacklisting the process. You can kill the process. So the response capabilities are very intuitive and directly available to an analyst. If I zoom here out, we also see all details about if the same executable was witnessed in different areas in the network. What are the potential cloud analysis? Because we also perform checks with cloud sources to see if these particular executable has been seen in the wild, and apparently this one not, but also all type of activities and connections that were made by the process. Okay. What we based on what we saw so far, we can decide if we accept this behavior. So basically, we whitelist the process and we would not be alerted about anymore. But also, which is most important, we can directly remediate the situation, as shown by Dristan. As explained by Dristan, that's also that's a major part of the solution, is that you can remediate the situation right away from one single workflow, which we call the remediation plan, which will remove all the different executables, file system persistencies, and other, including isolating the endpoint and therefore preventing lateral movement or potential data exfiltration. So by the time that I click on next, I will ask the agent to perform those activities, and I have the situation under control, and therefore I can close the alerts accordingly and telling the server actually that it should treat this type of behavior as malicious. Okay, as you can see, it's a very fast, detailed, and real-time behavior analysis performed by the ReaQta Hive agent. Another thing that's interesting here is when we look at the behavioral tree, we see all the different processes connecting to each other with the relationship between the parent and the child process, including the triggering process. But we also see is that there is a particular process in the middle called the Thunderbird. This particular process, if it's not part of your application suite, you may want to investigate further. That's where threat hunting comes into place. So when clicking on that particular process, we can move directly to the threat hunt page, where you are automatically presented with all the instances of the processes related or events that were collected by the agent, and allows you to identify what has been done so far and why do we believe that this is the source of it. Because so far we notice the behavior, but we don't know how did it get there. So when performing threat hunting, we want to get more information. We want to understand the situation further by searching through all the different events that were collected by the agents. Okay, so as you can see, we can, based on the threat hunting capabilities, we have a different parameters, queries that we can use to fine-grain this entire list of events, which includes about 102 pages. So by choosing between more than, I believe that we are now around 200 different type of queries that you can perform in the threat hunting page, you can also select or fine tune or the search by searching for specific event types. Like, for example, if I search here for, I want to know all the connections made by the Thunderbird, I will see that all the different, that the actually all the file that came in through the WeTransfer.com site.
Robert, just to everything that you're showing now is in detection mode, right? So when we would switch on protection mode, this would all be done fully automated. What, is that not the case?
Yeah, that is the case, but that is independent of the threat hunting, because the threat hunting includes, when you do threat hunting, you are hunting for potential threats over the entire infrastructure, and you are viewing all the different events, because the agent collects every single event is sent to the hive brain. But when presented in the behavioral tree, there are only the events that are actually related to that particular behavior. So when doing threat hunting, you are going beyond that. You want to know much more detail, and which includes actually the source of the malicious file. Where did it came from? And in this case, we see that it came through an email from WeTransfer.com, which allows then the organization to take different approaches here. They can actually say, okay, I want to blacklist the usage of Thunderbird application by creating a blacklist. And next to that, they can also actually block the usage or the WeTransfer connections on a firewall level or other means. So that ensures that this type of situation will not occur again, and that there is no possibility of shadow IT activities within the organization.
And every organization can do that for themselves, right? So you can customize that. So one doesn't have to do the same as the other.
No, exactly. So you can do that. It's all different by organization. Each organization has their own requirements. So maybe some do want people to use different applications, but others are more restricted on that. And that's all done based on blacklisting or whitelisting applications.
Okay.
Okay. So next to that, when it comes to threat hunting, as you can see, you have a lot of possibilities here, including we can fine-grain the search based on the timestamps. If we want to search only for the period that the alerts come in, to be more specific on the search. But there's also other reasons to do more proactive threat hunting. If you have an idea or you receive a request to search for or other type of malicious applications, for example, it's very simple to search for any type of application, like, for example, the usage of a anonymizer web browser like tor.exe. You will have a full list of when it was started, and when searching over the entire infrastructure in this case, you see that other persons also use Tor on a daily basis. And I believe that das ist richtig. But also, you can also search for specific events. One of the things that people usually like to know is, could it be that I am potentially under a brute force attack? So the easy way of doing that is a very common use case is to search for account lockdown fails. So if I do a search, I will probably be seeing a lot of different events, and you see that's a lot of different failed account lockdown fails in a very short period of time, which could indicate that is a potential brute force attack going on, or a particular process or a script, like scheduled tasks, for example, that may be broken in this case. So this is the type of search that you can do when it comes to threat hunting, especially because, as I mentioned previously, when you have the agent installed on all your endpoints, they collect all the events are sent to the server for a very high level visibility of what's going on in your environment. That although you may have downloaded something that passed through the environment, ReaQta actually is not so much concerned about what is on your hard disk. What we do concern about is about the behavior. So the real-time behavior analysis kicks in at the moment that the process is started. So in this case, when we look at for example, this type of executables, as long as they are on the hard disk, there is no reason for providing the user. But when the process starts leaving and represents a malicious behavior, we can block that behavior. And this is what you mentioned, that is running in protection mode. And again, once the behavior is detected, all the information is collected and is sent back again to the dashboard, where you can have a full understanding about the situation. And when we see here, we see two types of alerts that actually relate to the same behavior. The first one being the pre-execution behavior, actually, that we detect. When we look closer into this alert, we'll see that the typical behavior of a ransomware is to start deleting all the shadow copies of your files to prevent you from restoring those files. And that's already an indication that a ransomware is running. And further, when we look at the other alerts, we see that this alert contains detailed information about the process itself, with all the information related to one single view for analysis. In this case, we are running here in protection mode, so meaning that all the processes were terminated. No manual action is required by the analyst for the situation, except of course by cleaning up the system and making sure that all the other processes and executables are removed without the direct access to the endpoint. But also interesting is that we, due to the level of information that we collect from the endpoint, we are capable of providing you with a clear understanding about security posture of your infrastructure, where you have the possibility to focus on what is really important, the time frames, which endpoints are the most dangerous, and all these type of information is very accessible by simply, for example, clicking on one event, you are redirected to the threat hunting page where you have all the information pre-filled for you without the need to know a lot about querying languages and other specific methods. Once you perform all the activities when it comes to incident response, of course, you want to decide what to do with it. Do you want to allow certain behavior or block certain behavior? And that is done through the configuration of the policies, where you can allow applications to run with whitelisting policy, which means that if you create a whitelist for a particular application, you will not be alerted anymore. But also you can create whitelisting based on behavior, and that is something that other products do not always do. They either block an application or they allow an application. But in this case, we can block or allow a specific behavior for a specific application. Let's say in the case of Microsoft Word, I could allow that behavior to take place, or I can simply block that behavior and any other behavior will be allowed. And when it comes to the blacklisting, that allows the same capabilities to block specific applications based on the application name or hash, but also specific behavior. But you can block the entire behavior, or you just want to be alerted, which allows you, for example, to track the usage of different applications, like the usage of the Thunderbird email or the usage of the Tor browser. You can use the alert only option of the blacklist to monitor and decide at a certain point if it is necessary to take severe measures or other actions. Next to that, another type of policy that we provide you with is actually the protection policies. The protection policies, they are standard delivered with the product, which ensures that regardless the type of application, this type of behavior will not be tolerated. As you saw, the anomalous behavior that we saw in the first use case, it had mainly to do with the detection mode. And but on the other hand, by enabling, for example, the ransomware behavior protection, we block that behavior regardless the application name. So we do not depend on signatures or cloud-based analysis to decide if that behavior is malicious or not. That gives you the advantage that we can run in an air-gapped environment. Once the agent is deployed, he will have all these machine learning algorithms to detect this type of behavior, even if it is completely offline from the network and has no connection whatsoever. But of course, as we always say, we can provide you with a lot of different algorithms and knowledge and understanding of the behaviors and protect you against a lot of things in this case. But there's not always one size fits all, and therefore there's always behavior that may be new to the organization, or something that you are not sure about, or something very specific that you want to look for. Imagine if there is a new executable and you're not sure about the behavior and you want to detect, or other things. Most cases, when a new threat comes along, you have to wait for the vendor to come up with a signature, a patch, or whatsoever, or at least a solution for you so you can then implement in your environment. What we do to facilitate and to speed up this process, we have what we call DESTRAs. DESTRAs are detection strategies. It's short for detection strategy that allows you to, as I usually say, to tell the agent what to look for. And it's a very fairly simple solution, because it allows you, by using the scripting language called Lua, we have a simple method of telling the agent what to look for. And thanks to, for example, on the entire mapping against the Midrand attack framework, we have here, for example, you only need to know which technique you want to be warned about, and it will be done that out of the box. But this is a very simple example of such a DESTRA, but can also be very complex and can be used in very complex environments or limited environments. For example, a use case we have in Asia where big bank use DESTRA to monitor specific aspects of their entire SWIFT network, because SWIFT networks are very sensitive networks and they cannot be interfered with all kind of firewalls and security gateways and all kind of other things. And it's also very specific in behavior. You can find this information on our website. We have a full blog about that, on how you can use DESTRA for this type of situation. So I think I sped up a little bit today. I usually talk a little bit more than that. And so here I would like to conclude the demonstration of the product. I hope that was clear enough for everybody, that you have a very high, that you have an understanding about how we do it, and the effectivity and visibility and the simplicity of the solution when it comes to incident response, EDR capabilities, and especially, of course, the threat hunting possibility.
And this is also something pretty unique, I believe, right, Robert? Because you give the ability to partners and customers themselves to develop their own strategies instead of having to come back to us to predefine this.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We have including partners here in Europe that deliver this type of service to their customers by their own. So it can be very effective, especially on very specific or demanding customers.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, and it's fully integrated in the solution, so you don't have to pay extra for that if you get the right version.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool, good.
Okay, so then I will stop sharing my screen. I'm going to pass on the word to Tristan. Okay.
Yeah, or to myself, Dylan. It's Dylan here again, guys. I will be, well, not I. We will be moving over to the Q&A section. So, without further ado, let me actually. That's right, Robert. Let me hand over to Tristan. But before I do, let me just thank you, Robert. That was extremely insightful. Don, your input is obviously well received as well. But we'll be doing a bit
Thank you. That's the first time ever you say this, actually. So that's. I have to congratulate the audience, because they've shown up in masses and actually stayed. So they're really interested. So I really, really expect a lot of questions. Or we've been extremely clear, but it should be, knowing the South African market.
Yeah,
And there are continuously people waiting in the lobby, so that's also it's a dynamic session, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This is TIA, you know. This is Africa. We do things right here. In saying that, I think it's mostly to do with Robert and what he had to show us that kept people enticed. So thanks for that, Robert. Don, obviously your input is fairly much appreciated as well. But in saying that, let's perhaps give over to Mr. Govender to go through Q&A. I see there are a few questions.
Perfect, Robin, if you wouldn't mind just helping me answer a couple of these. But we definitely have a few here. So we got Sam who's asking, why should we rather take MDR over EDR?
Why? Well, MDR,
Yeah.
it's a matter of opinion. Sorry to jump into this one. I don't get a lot of times to actually understand the questions, so that's why I take the ones that I do.
Perfect.
MDR is a managed detection service. The simple fact is, it's a choice. EDR is a technology that does it for you. As you've shown, we do a lot of things in full automation mode, but it's still a matter of people that are able and available within the organization to deal with the solution. If you don't have that in your organization, then MDR becomes a valid option where everything is done for you. It's a simple fact. It's a managed service, so you just pay extra because always it's a component of licensing and services, and you get the full service. You don't have to look anywhere else. You have an SLA, and it's been taken care of.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for that, Don. Really appreciate it. There's also another one here. So what is the difference between the EDR and the antivirus?
The biggest difference between an antivirus and an EDR is that antivirus works with signatures. So basically, he can only protect you against things that he knows about. An EDR, it stands for endpoint detection and response, which, by the way, I very often refer back to the original acronym, which was ETDR, meaning endpoint threat detection and response. So it's not only about malware, it's about anything that presents a threat to the endpoint and therefore a threat to your organization, to your business. Imagine in the first use case, if that malicious embedded code would be an type of sticky malware or sticky ransomware with a time bomb. You would never know about it because the antivirus doesn't know about it until the time bomb explodes and it starts living. And that's the difference. By identifying this type of behavior and this type of events on your endpoint before it happens, that's the level of visibility that you need in order to do threat detection and response.
Exactly. So thanks for that, Robert. Really appreciate it. We have Sunny who's asking here, how
In
does
short, by the way, I would always say we're talking about reactive security and proactive security. It's as simple as that. Somebody's looking in the back mirror, and we predict the unknown because we can do that.
Exactly.
Couldn't help myself there, Tristan. Sorry.
No worries. Thanks for that, Don. Really appreciate it. We have another question here from Sunny. He's asking, how does ReaQta deal with data sovereignty and with data leaving borders? How do you guys deal with that?
Now, in this case, data leaving borders, the ReaQta server can be hosted on actually anywhere. It can be in an air-gapped environment, can be in your private cloud, in your own data center, can be everywhere where you need. The only thing that we need is an operating system to install our solution. What I can give you an example. We have in Brussels, we have a partner that, so in Belgium, that has his own instance of the ReaQta server running, delivering MSSP services to multiple customers, and especially because in Belgium and especially Brussels area, data is not allowed to leave the country at all. So we do not have any contact or access to that data. So it's pretty much depends on your requirements, but we can fulfill the different requirements from air-gapped up to open cloud if you want.
Exactly. That also relates
That is,
to
by the
your
way,
point.
another unique point also from the ReaQta solution in comparison to anybody else. We are as much functional in the cloud as we are indeed on premise in an air-gapped environment.
Exactly. So the multiple deployment packages, right? Deployment types, on-prem, on cloud, etc. Okay, so definitely according to client requirements, that's definitely a point that's made there. Okay. We have another one from Rubis Technologies. Can I run ReaQta without an antivirus solution, and what are the benefits of running it with an antivirus solution?
I will take that. ReaQta is an EDR solution, so meaning that they are completely different solutions. You can run them in parallel. If you like, you can leave away your antivirus, but that is not common practice because, first of all, until let's say until the people are actually comfortable and they are not afraid of living without antivirus, or companies like compliance regulations and that kind of things, they have to have an antivirus installed. So from our perspective, if you have to have an antivirus, you can run the antivirus. We run next to it. We don't interfere with that. We do our job. The antivirus does his job. The good news from that perspective is that there's a lot of free antivirus. And if you look from a Windows perspective, you have already embedded antivirus that will provide you with the first line of defense against known threats. And by running ReaQta, you have the EDR aspect, including the full advantage for threat hunting and potential and malicious behavior detection that may pass through the antivirus.
Great, yeah. So we also have the Hive Guard that's also offered alongside the EDR, right? And that's the next generation antivirus of ReaQta. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We also provide, since it's not one of our core business, our core business is of course EDR, but we also have the anti-malware module that performs analysis at different stages. And the benefit of that is that when using the anti-malware module from ReaQta, you have all the information on one single server, one single platform for investigation, forensic analysis, and eventual reporting.
Perfect. Okay. Thanks for that, Robert. We also have a question from Simon. Is there a built-in sandbox environment available to determine any payloads to potentially malicious binaries?
We don't do sandboxing. We do real-time behavior analysis. As the ReaQta Hive agent runs as a live hypervisor on the system, we are capable in a very fast, light way determine the behavior in a matter of if not real time, nearly real time, as you saw when the event came in. Determining any payloads to malicious binaries, that would be the job of an antivirus or other things, because if the payload is malicious, like you saw on the second part of the demo, the malicious binary, so the executable was there, but ReaQta only kicks in when it's actually a threat to the environment, when it actually starts living.
Of course. Okay. Thanks for that. And then we have one from Andre. It's relating to Destra. Since we're able to create our own detection rules, can it be used similarly to Yara or Sigma in order to detect specific behaviors regarding new exploits or malware families?
Absolutely, you can use Yara rules within the Destras.
Perfect. Yeah, so that's exactly what Destra is designed for, to pick up those new exploits and those malware families, right?
Yeah.
Before they identified, you would be able to implement your custom detection strategies. Okay. Gabby asked, can the solution prevent endpoints against phishing attacks?
No, but yeah, phishing is an initial access phase. Yeah, is that phishing is according to the MITRE framework, phishing is initial access tactic, and it has no process. It's only when the payload is executed. That's when we identify the behavior. So even if you receive an email, yeah, like I showed in the beginning, the email is there, yeah, that could be a phishing attack.
Yeah.
But it only kicks in at the moment that I execute the payload that was delivered via email after a phishing attack.
So in other words, Gabby, when you receive a phishing email, look, the email is probably still going to come through. It's up to you to decide whether you're going to click on certain things that you're not supposed to. However, that comes down to user awareness, and are your staff well equipped enough to know the difference between an actual email and a phishing email? We do actually have a couple of classes that we could give you, and we've got a couple of other tools besides ReaQta that could fill that void. If you'd like to get in touch with me, it's Dylan speaking here. Get in touch with me, and I will give you a walkthrough of that as well.
Nevertheless, when a phishing attack is there and it starts to execute and do something, we detect and block it immediately. So even if people don't recognize it, yes, the moment it starts doing something, we detect it and block it and make sure you're safe. So yeah. And outside of that, indeed, it's always good to educate your people on what to do and not to do. So I highly recommend some learning there with our friends from COS.
Yeah, security awareness training. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, great. So we have Bonyus asking with regards to the anti-malware module. We do definitely offer the anti-malware module, and ReaQta is a full EDR EPP solution as well. So you are definitely able to integrate alongside an antivirus, or you're able to enable the anti-malware module there. As for the second question, she's asking which SIM integration platform is supported from the box.
Basically, we support syslog transfer files. So if the SIM platform supports that type of format, the CEF format, JSON format, or other type of format, we can integrate with it.
We already integrated with QRadar, right?
Yeah, that's the most used at the moment. But any other one with the support for the same file type, in this case, then it can be supported as well.
Exactly. Okay. So just to answer your question again, we definitely, ReaQta definitely does work in parallel with your antivirus solution. So any antivirus solution that you want to integrate ReaQta with, or rather not use the word integrate, but work in parallel with, you are able to use ReaQta in parallel with that antivirus. Okay. We have another one here. So how do we get to test the solution? You can definitely get in contact with us after this webinar. If you are an attendee, you will get an email from us with this recording link, and you can definitely just let us know what your requirements are, and we'll be more than happy to run through a meeting with you, show you and run through a whole POV process for your organization so that you guys are able to test it out and make sure that it runs up to your standard. Okay.
Just to add on to that, we generally start our follow-up calls at 5 a.m. every morning, so please be up and ready.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah, Dylan just doesn't like to sleep, and he's got very young kids that keep him up, so that's why everybody else has to suffer. But okay, that's a side note here. Yeah.
Exactly. So we've got another one here from a Ben. I've heard something about a nano OS when it relates to ReaQta. So what is the nano OS?
Yeah, that is the nano OS is a piece of technology developed by ReaQta and patented by ReaQta. Is only available to ReaQta, which means that as we run as a live hypervisor, the Nano OS has the capabilities of performing very specific detections, like a kernel exploit, screen captures, key logging, from a very early stage in the actual running of the process. And that's particularly the Nano OS. So it's part of our live hypervisor that is capable of performing very low, high-level detections that no other solution can do.
Perfect. I think that
Excellent,
was the
excellent.
last question.
Guys, just before we go on, let me just reiterate that we will have all these questions and answers on an email to all attendees soonest, just in case. I do understand that we are running out of time, but feel free to hang on a call and listen to the rest of the Q&A.
Sure, I think
there's
that
much
was
more
the
listed.
last question.
Oh, well then, perfect timing. To the attendees, any more questions that you might have? If you don't have them now, or you would not like to voice them publicly, as I mentioned earlier, please get hold of your account manager or
and don't forget, Dylan, that we are aimed to visit
yes,
South Africa the end of September, beginning of October. So if anybody really wants to have a live demo and visit us, then we're more than happy to do so. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I'll be dropping off.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Really is appreciated. Hope you walk away with some knowledge that you didn't have before, and looking forward to hearing back from you. To all the speakers, thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Everyone.
I just finished.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great one.
Cheers. Bye.